Eduard Lintner, a former German MP, has just been found guilty of bribery. For years, this corrupt maggot funneled cash for the oil-rich dictatorship of Azerbaijan, which was used to bribe other European politicians to whitewash the ruling Aliyev regime within the very institutions meant to defend democracy. And it worked. In this video, I'm going to name and shame everyone who was involved in the scheme. But first, how did a man who spent 33 years in Germany's parliament end up as a paid mouthpiece for one of the most autocratic countries in the world? Lintner's political career began in 1976 when he entered the German Bundestag as a member of the Christian Social Union, the Bavarian sister party of Angela Merkel's CDU. From 91 to 98, he served as Parliamentary State Secretary in the Interior Ministry, while he also served as Germany's first drug commissioner starting 92. In 99, he secured a seat at the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, or PACE, a 46-nation organization dedicated to upholding human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. Lintner remained at PACE until 2010, and during this period developed a reputation for defending Azerbaijan's autocratic government. He praised their dubious elections and helped shield the ruling regime from criticism. In 2009, Lintner retired from the German parliament and founded the Society for the Promotion of German-Azerbaijani Relations, GEFDAB. The group's official aim was to strengthen ties between the two countries. In reality, it was a front for lobbying on behalf of Azerbaijan's ruling elite, and in the years to come would draw Lintner into one of Europe's most notorious corruption scandals. So how did it work? Investigators uncovered over 17,000 transactions that between 2012 and 2014 siphoned roughly $2.9 billion out of Azerbaijan. The funds were first dispersed into 4 shell companies registered in the UK with benign-sounding names. They are Hilux Services, Pollux Management, Metastar Invest, and LCM Alliance. These shell companies then funneled the money either directly or through lobby groups like Lintner's DefGab to individuals, including European politicians, in the form of bribes, gifts, or payments disguised as legitimate fees for services. Notably through the Estonian branch of Danske Bank, which overlooked the suspicious high-volume transfers. Let's take a look at some examples, shall we? In 2013, Lintner led a 36-member German election observation mission to Azerbaijan, where he declared that the re-election of Ilham Aliyev was up to, quote, German standards. Aliyev won with 85% of the vote, and 2 weeks later, Lintner received 61,000 euros for services. In case you're wondering, that was in fact the same election where Azerbaijan infamously released the election results before the voting had taken place. German standards! In fact, between 2012 and 2014, Lintner's organization received a total of 819,500 euros through shell companies, but it wasn't all for him. Lintner acted as an intermediary and built a system of influence and corruption to serve Azerbaijan's interests. So who were the people he recruited? One of the first names that come up is Karin Strenz, a fellow CDU parliamentarian and a member in PACE. She became an outspoken defender of Azerbaijan, including voting against a PACE resolution calling for the release of Azerbaijan's political prisoners. Axel Fischer, also a CDU member, received thousands of euros, including one bribe of 21,800 euros in 2016. In return, Fischer voted in Azerbaijan's favor, including on one resolution concerning Nagorno-Karabakh. The scheme was exposed in 2017, and in 2018, the Council of Europe banned both Lintner and Strenz for life from its premises following an internal inquiry. German law enforcement also started a corruption probe and raided both culprits' properties. Karin Strenz died before she could face trial in 2021 after collapsing on a plane during a flight from Cuba. It was unclear what the cause of death was or why she had visited Cuba. One can only assume she was there to certify that Cuban elections met the German standard. In 2024, prosecutors charged Eduard Lintner and Axel Fischer with bribery. Fischer's trial has been paused due to health reasons despite substantial evidence against him. Lintner's trial proceeded in Munich, and on July 30th, 2025, he was convicted of bribery. One of his former staffers and one relative of his confessed and had their cases dropped. The 80-year-old was given a 9-month suspended prison sentence, which means despite being guilty, he will not actually go to jail unless he violates probation. The court also ordered the confiscation of approximately 111,000 euros from Karin Strenz's widower, which confirms that she too had accepted bribes to advance Azerbaijan's agenda. But wait! There's more! Luca Volontè, Italian politician and former head of the European People's Party in PACE, was one of the largest known recipients of Azerbaijani dirty money. He received over 2 million euros while squashing a 2013 resolution that would have condemned Azerbaijan for locking up political prisoners. He was convicted of accepting bribes from Azerbaijan and sentenced to 4 years in prison. He appealed the decision, and while the appeal was pending, Italy's statute of limitations ran out, allowing him to walk free. Lintner also routed $800,000 to 2 Belgian politicians, Alain Destexhe and Stef Goris, who established a fake election observation NGO friendly to Azerbaijan. Destexhe also wrote a PACE report on human rights in Azerbaijan that has been criticized for not mentioning corruption. Moving on, 345,000 euros was paid to Kalin Mitrev, the husband of UNESCO Director General Irina Bokova, for supervision services. Bokova has been one of Azerbaijan's most high-profile supporters. She hosted a pro-Azerbaijan exhibit in Paris, awarded the dictator's wife a medal, oversaw a $5 million Azerbaijan UNESCO fund, and publicly congratulated Ilham Aliyev on his 2013 re-election. You know, the election where the results were published before the voting had taken place? That one. Another European politician who congratulated Aliyev's victory in 2013 was Plemeniti, president of the Slovenian National Party. He was paid 25,000 euros from one of the shell companies in 2012 and acted as an observer in 3 Azerbaijani elections. He also co-signed a letter condemning Armenia in its conflict with Azerbaijan. He claims the money was for the translation of a Slovenian book into Russian. And it's not just politicians who got paid. A former CNN producer, Eckart Sager, received nearly 2 million euros in his UAE bank account from a shell company and pushed pro-Azerbaijan PR. And the fish get smaller from there. I know I promised to cover all of them, but there's just too many of them. All in all, the scheme that came to be known as the Azerbaijani Laundromat successfully paid off politicians in multiple European countries. These corrupt maggots benefited from the scheme for years, and even the ones who have been convicted have yet to spend a day in prison. But the primary victims of all this is the average Azerbaijani citizen. Take, for example, the $2.9 billion funneled out of the country between 2012 and 2014. That makes an average of $3 million a day that could have funded hospitals, schools, and a better future for Azerbaijani children. Instead, it was used to squash their hopes for a democracy by financing fake election observers that legitimized the ruling elite. But there is an important question that we have yet to answer. Why would Aliyev do this? He already has all the money and power he wants. But you see, what regimes like his crave above all else is legitimacy. He needs the facade of being a legitimate leader to shield his regime from sanctions, rather than being seen for the brutal dictator that he is. And he effectively bought the approval from the very institutions designed to hold him accountable.
Why do you think that people in Azerbaijan do not have free media and opposition?
Because this is what I'm told by independent sources in this country.
Which independent sources?
Many independent sources.
Tell me which.
I certainly couldn't name sources.
Oh, if you couldn't name, that means that you're just inventing the story.
So you're saying the media is not under state control?
Not at all.
And there is a vibrant, free opposition media? Where do I see this?
You can see it in the internet. You can see it everywhere.